Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dan on Sports. Well, the coach of the University of Connecticut men's basketball team, Dan Hurley, certainly has stirred up a lot of conversation off of his interview on 60 Minutes the other night. Remember, he is the coach of the two-time defending national champions. I mean, Hurley's done an outstanding job at UConn. There's no denying it. And I know that there are some who say he can be quirky, he can be difficult to deal with certain aspects of the media, but I don't know. I have no dealings with Dan Hurley. All I know is this: he's a great coach, and he's won back-to-back national championships, and not many people can say that. But there is one comment he made during that interview which I'm going to take some issue with, and well, we'll get to it. Let's take a look at some of his other comments, first of all, because it's doubtful UConn is going to three-peat. But you never know when it comes to the tournament what might happen. You never know about these things, as a coach of mine once said, but I would be very surprised if UConn wins the national championship this year, me and just about a million other people. Let that go. But among the things he said during that 60 Minutes interview, 50% of my roster or more is at least considering going in the portal, if not already knows what school they're going to, which means they're going to transfer. This is one of the big reasons coaches are leaving. High-profile coaches are leaving, both in college basketball and college football. We'll get to that in a moment. But here you are a coach of a two-time defending national champion, and you're looking at your roster, and you're going to try and win a conference tournament, which gets underway, the Big East conference tournament in this case, and then you're going to hope to make it to the NCAA tournament and try to make it 3 consecutive national championships, and you're looking at your roster, and half of your roster is probably going to leave. It's astounding. Astounding. Okay, what else did he say? Well, some players have already talked to the coaching staff at future schools and have an idea of what their NIL is going to be there. That's names, images, and likeness. It's a way of the players getting paid. College players getting paid. That's right. No more about an education and getting a free ride to get that education. It's about college players getting paid. We'll get to that in a moment. But think about this. This would be like at the professional sports level, and it's not allowed in professional sports. You're playing for one team, but you're talking to another team because you're going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and you are already talking to another team about playing for them next year. Astounding. But it's happening at the collegiate level, and Dan Hurley, and good for him, Dan Hurley is pointing this out. He's not the first to point this out, by the way, but he did have the platform of 60 Minutes, so he wants to bring it to the attention of the nation, perhaps the person who's not a college sports fan or is a college sports fan just on the periphery. So another good point by Hurley. Then he said, look at the volatility this year, the level of volatility in college sports that has now become a year-to-year proposition. The game has changed completely. Yeah, you bet your life the game has changed completely. And I'm not so sure it's for the better. Finally, and here's where I have an issue with Dan's comments, if I have any at all. And I like Hurley. I love watching him coach. I know he can get sometimes exuberant, and some have said he's cost his team games by getting whistled for technical fouls. But the man's a winner, all right? He's won back-to-back national championships. He's a winner. And he's done it without hurting the program. So as far as, any kind of violations. But here's where I have an issue with Hurley. It's a somewhat small one, but I do have an issue. Well, first of all, he doesn't like the window being open right now. I don't have an issue with that. The window meaning these players, their season is still going, and they're already given the ability to contact other schools while they're playing for the current team. He says it's not healthy for kids to change schools, quote unquote, like underwear. It almost feels like, and here here's where I'm going to get to it. It almost feels like, in a way, right now, teams that are really, really successful and having great seasons, it's almost becoming pro sports, where it feels like we're going to have the last pick in the draft. It's almost becoming pro sports. It's almost becoming pro sports. Coach Hurley, this is where I do have an issue with you. It is pro sports. College basketball, college football, it's pro sports. These athletes are getting paid. They are getting paid in so many ways, from luxury vehicles to cash. It's not about going to school anymore. Now, the question becomes, should these players be paid? That ship has sailed. But let's look at it from the player's perspective for just a moment. These television networks are throwing billions at these conferences. Billions. Not millions, billions. They're signing these multi-year TV contracts that go into the billions. So why shouldn't the players get a cut of the action? They are the ones on the floor. They are the ones playing. What it has become, and I don't even want to say it's become the minor leagues, because I don't know of any minor league sport, and I broadcast minor league baseball, and I've seen relatively big crowds at a minor league baseball game, and I'll put relatively in quotes, because there's no minor league baseball game out there that's drawing 20,000 if they get for a college basketball game, or dare I say 110,000 for a college football game. So it's another major league is what it is. These college sports at the upper level, whether you're talking football, whether you're talking basketball, it's the major leagues, and they're getting paid. But the question becomes, why shouldn't they be getting paid? It's the reason that these schools are now getting billions of dollars from the television networks. It's all about content. And incidentally, they're talking about expanding the tournament even more. I read where you've got some people out there who want to see the college basketball tournament expand to 74 teams or schools. 74 schools. Put teams in that line rather than schools, because that's what it's all about. 74 teams. And they're talking about expanding the college football playoffs, and they will. Why? Because it's going to mean more money. That's what it's come down to. I thought Dan Hurley brought up a lot of good points in his interview on 60 Minutes the other night. The one issue I have, and it's a small one, when he says it's almost becoming like professional sports, it is professional sports. There is just no doubt about that. Now, you at home sitting down watching the games or betting on the games, you're entertained by that. It's entertainment. That's what college sports has become. Now, you could say, well, college sports has always been entertainment, and you could read the stories about the Oklahoma football team in the 50s. The players would show up, go to their locker room, and lo and behold, there'd be bundles of cash in their helmets before the start of a game. Gee, where did that money come from? No one knows. So at least it's on the up and up now. But I think what Dan Hurley is saying is you got to put some restrictions on this. You've got to rein it in. You can't be having players as the season is taking place, particularly as you get to in the case of college basketball, the highlight of the season, and these players are talking to other schools. How can you focus? How can you focus on helping your team advance? How can you focus on helping your team win? Or how about this? You're playing for a chance to go to the title game, and you're going up against a school who you might be playing for next year, and you know about that. How can you perform that way? Look, the genie's out of the bottle. NIL or some kind of other monetary compensation for these players, it's always going to happen from here on in. Billions are being thrown at the product of college football and college basketball. And there are many coaches, high-profile coaches, who don't like that, and that's why they've left. That's why they have left the profession. Those who want to remain in the profession are going to have to live with it. That doesn't mean you can't make changes, and I think that's what Coach Hurley is talking about. You've got to make some changes and somehow rein this in to maintain the integrity of the sport, even if these collegiate players are getting paid. And to me, the integrity comes into question when you have a platform that allows these players right now to be talking to other schools while they're still playing for a particular school. So good luck to the collegiate sports scene. That's the way it is in 2025, and that's the way it is going to be going forward. It's just the lay of the land. You're not going to change it, but what you can do is try to rein some of the aspects in. That's going to do it for Dan on Sports. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And be sure to subscribe to my newsletter at sportscasterdan.com.